Hi guys, this is another Star Wars The Old Republic free-to-play option ability guide for an Infiltration Spec Jedi Shadow. The purpose of this guide is to help you to most effectively play your Infiltration Spec Shadow using only the 2 quick slot bars that you're given as a free-to-play player. You can spend a few dollars to go ahead and upgrade to have more quick slot bars, but you really don't need to at all. You can fit your abilities into the 2 quick slot bars that you really need for leveling anyways. And as a matter of fact, the Infiltration Spec Jedi Shadow is one of the best and easiest classes to do that with. It's very easy to fit everything. There are very little sacrifice you must make. So what I'm going to do is go through and tell you how to pull it off, and I'll give you a build to use, and then you can go ahead and get playing. Okay, here's what I want you to do. When you first start the game at level 1 as a Jedi consular, you're going to have a couple of abilities on your bar. Saber Strike, Double Strike, Project. You'll also have an ability called Quick Travel, which you can remove. This allows you to move quickly to a faraway point once every, I think the cooldown is 30 minutes. This is an ability which nobody who plays the game really keeps on their quick bar. You keep it, you just press the P key, and it is listed in your ability kind of catalog. You don't need to keep this on your quick bar. This is not even a sacrifice. I don't have this on any of my quick bars. You're also going to see meditation. Some other classes have to kind of tweak things to fit this in, or some of their specs do. You don't. An Infiltration Jedi Shadow is fine just having it on there, so you don't need to worry about that at all. Anything else can be taken off. You just want really meditation and then 3 starting abilities: Saber Strike, Double Strike, and Project. From that point forward, as you level up, here's what you'll do. Train every single ability that's offered to you. I will tell you in this guide which ones to remove from your quick slot bars whenever they are full. Okay, so train every ability. If at some point you find you have 24 abilities on your quick slot bars and you need space for the next one, here's what to remove. The first ability you will remove is one that you train at level 4. It's called Force Lift. Force Lift is for Balance Spec Jedi Shadows and for Jedi Sages. It's cumbersome to use, it's inefficient to use, it's not necessary to use for a Infiltration Spec Jedi Shadow. But you will have extra space as an Infiltration Spec Jedi Shadow. You can probably fit this on if you really want it. It's not necessary. Next is Force Potency, which you will get at level 8. Force Potency, because of the extra space, is an ability which, as an Infiltration Spec Jedi Shadow, you may want to actually keep. You're very heavily based on critical hits as a class, as a spec, and this increases your critical hit chance. For most leveling builds as a Jedi Shadow and the other 2 specs, I say take it off, you don't need it. I don't even think I used it leveling up as an Infiltration Spec Jedi Shadow. Nevertheless, it's one which, if you want to fit on there, you probably can. But it's one which, if you really are out of space, take it off. Next, Heroic Moment. Every class has this ability called Heroic Moment, which is just a get out of jail free card. Gives you extra defense, restores your health, things like that, for when you're in a really tight spot. It's got an enormous 20 minutes cooldown, and it's one which you only need in these rare situations. So if you're fighting this boss and you just can't kill him, maybe swap that onto the bar for something else. Otherwise, you don't need it. Take it off. It's not necessary. Sprint, you'll get at level 15. Sprint is an ability which it causes you to move faster out of combat, but it's toggled and permanently on. You don't want it off. Once you get it, turn it on, then remove it from your quick slot bar. Set it and forget it, as they say. What you can do is, if you really need to turn it on because it somehow turns itself off, or you want to turn it off sometimes when you're trying to make a particular jump, it's helpful to turn it off. You can just, again, press the P key. It'll go to your ability catalog. You can use it from there. It's not one that you're going to need to use regularly at all. Don't worry about it. The same goes for Shadow Technique. Shadow Technique is an ability which you're going to get through the skill tree when you build your class. It is the technique. The Jedi Shadow has 3 different techniques. It's used to, it changes the way that your class works. It's the one for the Infiltration Spec. But this is also a set it and forget it thing. When you train it, you can turn it on and then remove it from your bar. If you need to access it again, press P and it's in there. Otherwise, set it and forget it. Don't need to worry about it. And lastly, the Jedi Shadow Infiltration Spec, just like the Kinetic Combat Spec, has a swap. There's a particular ability which, once you hit level 40, you're going to swap. One of those abilities, which I told you about, which you start off with, Double Strike, that's kind of your main bread and butter attack that you're using all the time. When you hit level 40, through your Infiltration Spec tree, you're going to get Clairvoyant Strike. Clairvoyant Strike replaces Double Strike, not just for people with only 2 quick bars, for every Infiltration Shadow. That's the design. If you're playing Infiltration, I don't care if you have 1 quick bar or 100 quick bars. You take Double Strike off and you don't use it anymore ever. You use Clairvoyant Strike always instead. So once you hit level 40, you swap Clairvoyant Strike in for Double Strike. Okay? So that's really it. One other thing. When you hit level 28, you're going to be offered this ability, Tumult. It's the one ability I would say don't train. Don't spend the money on. It's completely unnecessary. It's this ability. Every class has this one skill which is used against targets only those which are stunned and which are weak, standard, or strong enemies. There's different classes of enemies in the game, right? It's not useful though against elite or champion enemies. The reason I say don't train it, it's designed to be this very, very high damage attack. But because you cannot use it against elite and champion enemies, it's simply not worth having. I don't use it. I don't train this kind of ability in any class on any of my characters. Most people probably train it, but they don't really use it. Some do. I mean, you can. Is it going to help you to kill some kind of everyday mob faster? Sure. But it's honestly completely unnecessary. I would say don't even train it. You could also consider not training mind control and mass mind control, which are the taunt abilities. They're really for the tank spec, the kinetic combat spec. I would say don't put them on your quick bar if you do train them, but I'd also say it's probably not necessary to train them because you're not a tank. You're not supposed to be taunting enemies, which would force them to attack you, which the tank wants them to attack him. But you, as a DPS, squishy kind of a class, you don't. All right, so that is the build. Now, when you hit level 25, you're going to want to fit your mount on there, right? And you're going to want to fit your meditation on there, which I told you about at the beginning. It's the recuperate ability, the one that helps you to restore your health out of combat. What if your quick bars are full? You should not find them full by this time, because you should have 3 free slots if you follow everything which I have told you to do. But let's say that you are running out of space. What can you remove? There's only one that I recommend for the Infiltration Spec Shadow, and it's really the only one you need to. Whirling Blow. It's this area of effect attack. It kind of stinks to take it off because Jedi Shadows don't really have any other area of effect attacks, but it takes a lot of force. It's very heavy hitting on your energy demands. It's hard to use without sucking up all of your force and making it hard to use other skills. and it's one which is really only useful in PvP for stopping caps. It does so little damage that it's not even really, you do better just attacking the enemies one by one when you're out leveling. So don't even worry about that one. All right, cool. Now, let's move on to your build. So this build is designed with the fact in mind that you only have 24 quick slots, but because the Jedi Shadow Infiltration spec is so friendly for the 2 quick slot bars, it's exactly the same as the spec that it should be used for Infiltration spec, or one of them. There's variations, but it's exactly the same as what you should be using, generally speaking, for the spec no matter what, whether you have 2 quick slot bars or 200, right? So here's what you should do. I'll tell you, starting at level 10, when you get your first skill point, put it into Shadow's Respite. At level 11, Shadow's Respite again. Then Infiltration Tactics 3 times. You can read what these say. I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining them, other than one here or there. Security Breach. There's been some debate. Some people think that this is not a useful skill. I think it absolutely is from experience. I played a Jedi Shadow for a very long time, and some people have done the math, and it turns out it's pretty good. You should take it. I would absolutely recommend. Next, put a couple of points into Celerity, and then come down. You need 5 points per tier to get to the next one, so we need 10 points having been spent to get up here. We've only spent 9. But this is not a skill that's necessarily that useful. This one is. It increases your defense, which is very important for a squishy class. Put 1 point in there. Now we have access to Shadow Technique. Remember, I told you to set this and then remove it from your quick slot bar. It'll stay perfectly safe in your ability catalog, but it's just a technique. It's like it affects the way that your other abilities operate. It's not one you ever press, ever. Set it and forget it. Next, put 2 points into Circling Shadows, then 1 into Masked Assault, then 1 into Vigor, which gives you more force, which is helpful. Jedi Shadows can run into some trouble with the amount of force. Put 2 points into Fade. Put 3 into Profundity. Now you can get up here. You want to take Low Slash. This is an ability. It goes on your quick slot bar. You have plenty of room. Throw it on there. Now put 2 points into Exit Strategy. Put 2 points into Kinetic Field, and move up and put 2 points into Deep Impact. Come down here, because we need to move up. We don't want this ability, and put 2 points in Subduing Techniques. Move up, move down, and finish off Shadowy Veil. This is one which you don't necessarily want. You could use it, but Spinning Kick as an Infiltration Shadow, you have to be in stealth to use it. I didn't use it that much. Low Slash is just as good, generally speaking. You can move something around if you'd like. Don't take any points out of this, though. Deep Impact. Don't take any points out of Exit Strategy. These are very key parts to the build. If you take any points out of anything, sacrifice either Shadowy Veil 1 point or Infiltration Tactics 1 point. Now you're at level 40. You're putting your point into Clairvoyant Strike, and remember, remove Double Strike from your quick slot bar. Clairvoyant Strike completely replaces it. Never need Double Strike again as Infiltration. Now, at level 41, we have finished off our Infiltration tree. We can move elsewhere and put 3 points on Force Synergy on level 41, 42, and 43. On level 44 and 45, we fill out Jedi Resistance, and then we take Upheaval, which is part of what makes this spec work so strongly, and then we take 2 points in Psychokinesis to fill out the trait, and we're all done. And so I would just add one little bit of advice. Remember, I said that you can take Force Potency off, but as Infiltration, you might want it. If you do find a way to fit Force Potency onto your quick bar and want to use it, what you're going to want to do is, the way the spec is designed, is you attack an enemy twice with Clairvoyant Strike, and then once with Project, and then once with Force Breach. Use Force Potency after your second Clairvoyant Strike. So go Clairvoyant Strike, Force Potency, then project, then force breach for massive damage. Just a little bit of advice on how you'd use force potency, because it's kind of especially useful for this particular class and spec. So that's all. You should have no trouble playing an Infiltration Shadow as a free-to-play player with the 2 quickslot bars. It will work perfectly fine. If you want to look at the actual details in writing, again, the link is right there below the video. So have fun.